Hello and welcome to the Meaning Project podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Daniel A. Franz, and as always, thank you for this opportunity to bring a little bit of mental health and meaning to your day. As I was preparing for today's podcast, I thought to myself, this might be one of the ones where you get fired. That's a phrase I use in my office occasionally when I'm about to say something that an individual, more often than not a couple, may disagree with, maybe find controversial. Now, admittedly, I don't think I've been fired that often. There have been times, maybe people don't agree with my style or what I have to offer. That does happen. I thought today might be one of them, but I took a step back, took a deep breath, paused, did some more deep breathing, and then did some research, right? So I wanted to educate myself. Here's why I thought I might get fired today. I've reached a level of frustration hearing about attachment theory um, that has blinded me in some ways, maybe. And the reason why is the attachment theory is coming back to me very often from clients versus from studies. And this, I think this is an overall issue I have with hmm, how well educated the public is. Maybe not well educated, how differently educated the public can be when it comes to making their own diagnoses. Trauma, diagnostic criteria, attachment theory. These are all readily available on the internet. And a lot of people are, I hesitate to say researching, a lot of people are looking them up and identifying with them. And that can be a good thing. But sometimes maybe we over-identify with them. And so I wanted to talk about it today, but you know what? I'll be honest. It's been a while. It's been a while since I studied attachment theory. It exists, it is relevant. I know it is there in the work that I do, but I don't use it that often. Not as much as maybe my clients do. And I agree with it in some ways. But I think through this conversation, you'll come to understand why maybe I'm not jumping on board. So I wanted to do the research to make sure my studies of 30 years ago were accurate. Again, I'm old, I'm grumpy. I studied this stuff a long time ago. I'm so old, I wore a Toad the Wet, for those of you on YouTube. Yeah, I put the sweatshirt on intentionally just to show you how old and curmudgeonly I can be sometimes. Toad the Wet Sprocket, love them in the 90s, love them today. The Good Intentions tour last year was outstanding. But, old sometimes means curmudgeonly, sometimes means experienced. So I think maybe I'm going to weigh in on experience today. But also, admittedly, I went back through the research. And for those of you that know, the research involved in my master's program is actually still contained in a cardboard box underneath a gigantic TV with a tube still in it, somewhere out in the barn. It is something that should probably be in a museum, but those documents are still there. I didn't have to pull them out. The internet does some pretty good research, but I wanted to share with you some of the things I found related to attachment theory. So I'm not going to screen share. That can be a little obnoxious, but I do need to minimize here and kind of pull out what I was looking at. So attachment theory, I forgot. I studied it 30 years ago, so it's been around even longer than that. It's a theory from the 50s. I believe it was John Bowlby and his associates came up with it. So the core idea is this: humans are biologically wired to seek closeness and safety from trusted caregivers. When caregivers respond consistently and supportively, children tend to develop a sense that people are reliable, that I, as an individual, am worthy of care, and relationships are safe. Now, one of my favorite examples of this in work, right? It's very hard to test this theory on humans, but we tested it on some of our nearest biological, no, not biological, genetic relatives, monkeys. And I'll never forget the sad, sad soft monkey mother and hard monkey mother. They took baby infant monkeys, and one they put with a soft, a fake, soft, plush, but nurturing, I guess you would say, mother figure, and the other one they put with a wire oh, it still breaks my heart to think about it. Just this kind of wire caged mother. And it turns out the little baby monkey with the soft fake mother not necessarily thrived, but at least survived, or the one with the hardened wire cage mother didn't. It's really sad. And that's an example of what attachment can do to us, right? There are several main attachment styles. The first one, the healthy one, secure attachment. People with secure attachment generally feel comfortable with closeness and independence. They can come in and out of these ideas. They trust others more easily. They can communicate their emotions directly. Now, let's face it, in our times, that's often difficult and needs to be learned a little bit, but people with secure attachment can do that maybe a little bit easier. And they also recover from conflict more effectively. This often develops when caregivers are consistently responsive and emotionally available. Now, according to a book I've shared a lot, The Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents, we've gone through like a generation of parents who may not have been able to do that. And we live in a time where parents today may not be able to be consistently responsive and emotionally available. So, what comes of that? Well, one of the less healthy, I don't want to call it unhealthy, but less healthy attachment styles is what's called anxious attachment or preoccupied attachment, right? Common traits here are a fear of abandonment, a need for reassurance, sensitivity to rejection, and worry about relationship stability. This happens when caregivers are inconsistent, maybe sometimes unattentive or unavailable. I know for me personally, I may have to apologize for this at some point. My father was pretty unavailable. He worked hard. We've talked about this before. He didn't do it intentionally. And there's a whole generation. Come on, Generation X, us kids in the East generally. We were called the latchkey generation. You're damn right our parents were unavailable. They may have been the first generation where both parents were going to work. And so it's not their fault, but some of us may have suffered from it, right? Now, we got to get real about this. Common traits, fear of abandonment. I've seen true anxious attachment, and that fear of abandonment is intense. It's not just, oh my goodness, might this relationship end, or are we looking at a divorce, or, is this dating right for me? But it is a pretty intense fear. And I think sometimes these are the nuances that internet research, Reddit research, kind of complicates, right? Need for reassurance. We all have a need for reassurance. The other way of saying that is my love language is words of affirmation, right? Similar, but with somebody with an anxious attachment, that need might be different, might be debilitating. A sensitivity to rejection. Look, folks, I've got a sensitivity to rejection. Most of us do. But what an anxious attachment would provide is a pretty severe sensitivity there, right? And of course, a worry about relationship stability. The difference between an anxious attachment and the severity of it, we all experience some of these things in different ways. But some of us may have had difficult parents or difficult upbringing and express them differently. So you have anxious attachment. The next one is avoidant attachment, or sometimes called dismissive avoidant attachment. Common traits: discomfort with emotional dependence, right? So just there, it sounds like sometimes a traditionally male reaction to negative parenting styles. Discomfort with emotional dependence, a preference for self-reliance, right? So again, self-reliance can be a good thing, but it can go too far in some of these attachment styles, right? Pulling away, now this is an interesting one. Pulling away during emotional intensity. That's also a trait of an introvert, right? So many people might express this in different severities or intensities. And also, well, here's Dr. Dan right there, right? Maybe I have a avoidant attachment, difficulty expressing vulnerability. I've talked about that here many times. Maybe it's an attachment style for me. Maybe it's just who I am. The phrase I'm not allowed to use in my own office. I'm working on it, but I truly am. And, I use my peers and my men's peer group to hold me accountable to that, right? So this attachment style may develop when emotional needs were regularly dismissed or discouraged. Now, again, adult children of emotionally immature parents. Many of us, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, even today, had our feelings dismissed, right? Like, boys don't cry, rub some dirt on it. You're going to be okay, right? All these variations of parenting throughout generations could have presented some issues. Then again, maybe it's not an attachment style. Maybe our parents were just tougher on us than they are now with gentle parenting. It's a thought. So one of the more difficult attachment styles, disorganized attachment, right? So this is kind of a push-pull relationship, mixed desire for closeness, yet a fear of it. Unpredictable relationship behavior. Difficulty trusting others. Many people have reasons to struggle to trust, right? But this is just an ingrained difficulty to trust. And then strong emotional conflict. This is often associated with frightening, chaotic, truly traumatic caregiving environments. And there's another word. There's another word that may get me canceled or fired at some point. We need to talk about trauma and what that means and what that truly means. Again, that's a word that is used too widely on the internet. It is almost up there with narcissism. But that's a word for another day. Don't get me wrong, trauma exists. But I would argue there is a statistically disproportionate amount of people claiming that their behavior is rationalized because of trauma. And we'll talk a little bit about maybe my beliefs on how to impact attachment issues as well as trauma-related issues here. And if you want to have a conversation about it, any of these, I'm always available. Email me or hop on the Meaning Project community. Come in there. Be a part of the community. Let's talk about it. Let's look at some of the things Dr. Frankel teaches about this. What psychedelic-assisted medication, whoa, not the right word, psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy and medicine has to say about these, right? So attachment issues are created in childhood. What happens in adulthood? So attachment theory can be used to understand a few areas of behavior today. One is romantic relationships, our parenting patterns, how we relate to our children, our ability for emotional regulation, therapy and mental health, conflict styles, which relate also to the Myers-Briggs, and intimacy and trust, right? So it is generally believed that someone with anxious attachment may seek frequent reassurance. I said it earlier. Some of us, our love language is words of affirmation. What's the difference? What is the difference between having an attachment issue that you seek frequent reassurance or that your love language is words of affirmation? I think it's an issue of severity and how you react in these situations, right? And I am experiencing too often people are saying, well, this is my attachment style, so that's who I am. And well, we'll argue about that later on in the podcast. Someone with avoidant attachment may withdraw during conflict. As I said earlier, so might an introvert, right? The difference being here, hopefully somebody with introverted tendencies can come back. They might not, right? And somebody with avoidant attachment may just never come back to it, right? And securely attached people usually balance closeness and autonomy more comfortably, right? So here's the Dr. Dan meat of the topic. Attachment styles. Now, not my words. I am actually pulling these out of research, right? So I believe them, but I'm going to express them professionally. Attachment styles are patterns. They are not fixed identities. They do become more secure over time if they're not intervened with. People can show different patterns in different relationships, right? There are filters, there are interactions, there are dynamics in our relationships that can cause us to behave or to react in different levels related to attachment. Attachment issues or attachment behavior can change through healthy relationships, therapy, and self-awareness, right? Sometimes knowing is half the battle. I love this statement I found out there. Modern psychology views attachment as influential, but not identity, okay? Too many people, from what I've experienced, I don't know if somebody's made this popular on the interwebs or on some Discord or Reddit out there, but too many people will come in and say, well, that's my attachment style and that's how I behave. To which you might assume I rail against. You're not being fair to yourself. You're not being fair to your loved ones. You're not being fair to your future, right? So It is still relevant today, even, 50, 60, 70 years later. Many of us therapists can use attachment style to help you understand your maybe fear of abandonment, difficulty trusting others, emotional withdrawal, just relationship conflict patterns. So places where attachment issues or attachment theory is relevant, our parenting and child development, right? How responsive are we? How do we respond? How do we choose not to respond? Right? Emotional attunement. How do we attune to our children's emotions? How do we choose to let them struggle with their emotions so they learn how to moderate them? Right? But then also, this comes into secure parent child bonding. What is the middle ground? What is the spectrum? What is healthy? This has definitely influenced a lot of hospital policies, right? There was a time, oh my goodness, fathers were not allowed in the waiting room. That's changed a lot. It was often babies were taken away quickly to be assessed and figured out. And now we put them right skin to skin. So many important policies at birth now. This has influenced adoption policies. Childhood education, we hope, is being influenced. So, right? Attachment theory definitely has an impact on parenting and child development. Sometimes, in my opinion, now this is not one I've researched, but this is one I've kind of spoken out about. The idea of gentle parenting may have taken the pendulum too far to the other side. That's one for another topic. Or if you know more about gentle parenting, I would love for you to come on and let's talk about it. Attachment theory, it's a lens, perspective to see adult relationships, right? We discuss these in dating and relationship psychology because they help explain reoccurring interpersonal patterns, right? Anxious attachment will be reassurance seeking, avoidant attachment, emotionally distancing, secure attachment, healthy conflict, repair, and trust. Now, I often say many of us come into a relationship only knowing what our families of origin taught us. We may not know how to repair conflict, how to build trust, but we can learn. None of these are a lifelong sentence. We can grow, we can learn. If you don't feel you got what you need from your family of origin and you need some help, there are great books. There are this podcast, there are many other podcasts, and of course, seek guidance, a mentor, a supportive other couple, mature couple you know, other couples that may you can communicate about. And of course, priests, clergy, therapy, all of these things can certainly help there. So attachment theory does still have relevance today. However, there are some limitations, right? And I'm sure you're not going to be shocked by some of the things I have to say here. It is too reductionistic. In logotherapy, we fight against reductionism. People are more complex than four neat, brief attachment categories. It can be a factor, but I don't like labeling you. Don't label yourself, right? Do the work of coming to full understanding, right? Also, and this is a really good one. I remember this hit me as I was doing the research for today. Back in the day when I would teach multicultural counseling skills, this was a recurring topic. Culture matters. Ideas about independence, closeness, parenting differ across cultures. So attachment patterns may look different globally. And in a global situation where we are mixing more freely, we are engaging in true diversity in some times in some places, sometimes being with somebody from a different culture might bring up different attachment related ideas. It's not a life sentence, it's something to be discussed. Of course, you know my belief, change is always possible. We don't get to choose the conditions of our existence or our parents or how we were raised, but we always get to choose our attitudes toward it, right? Early childhood does not permanently determine adult relationships. Later experiences, therapy, friendships, stable relationships, experiences, creativity, attitudes, all of these things can shift attachment patterns. My favorite culprit, don't roll your eyes too hard, right? definitely a social media overuse. It's just used out there too much. It's up there with narcissism and everybody being traumatized. Ooh, sorry, that came out a little flippantly, right? So too often online discussions treat attachment styles like rigid personality labels. I'm avoidant. I said this before, right? I'm avoidant, so that's who I am. Man, that phrase does not fly in my office or in my beliefs, right? That's just who I am. No. You are a beautiful, amazing, unique individual capable of constant change and meaningful decision, right? You get to choose how you react today. So those are kind of my ideas on it's funny. I got a little flippant because people in my office are getting a little too flippant throwing this around. That's who I am. That's my style. Like, no, let's change it. Let's improve it. Let's have everybody have secure attachment styles, right? Wouldn't that be nice? Kind of a brief one today. As always, if you have questions, comments, concerns, you want to come on and talk about gentle parenting or attachment styles, hit me up. Once again, today's podcast brought to you by the Meaning Project community. Go have a look. Oh, I don't know. It's so cool. I don't know. Is it my life's work? Maybe. Right now it is. Hours and hours of lecture, audio, video, written on Frankel and logotherapy, the MBTI and your unique personality, the field and study of resilience, and of course, psychedelic assisted psychotherapy. There's a community interaction opportunity. The material is constantly growing. I'm just so excited to share it with you, right? Guys, people who know guys, check out menspeergroups.com. My good friend, Dr. B and I, he's been a part of men's peer groups for a very long time. And he brought me in a couple years ago. It's amazing. I love it. It taught me vulnerability. It taught me about true masculine love and appreciation. And a lot of us are going through it. And sometimes we are blamed for other people going through it. Sometimes we're the cause of other people going through it. Don't get me wrong. Men's peer groups is an opportunity to take responsibility, to have some accountability, to grow and be vulnerable. So check out menspeergroups.com. And finally, the Cardion app. Man, we are moving forward so quick. I think I said this before. Go check it out now. Cardion, Cardeon, Cardion.io has both versions available, or you can just look up the Cardion app. It's the one with the purple color scheme. It's an opportunity to engage in different mental health and wellness on a daily basis through a series of evaluation cards and challenge cards, give you different ideas on what to do to kind of improve your overall wellness. Check it out today because the improvements we are making they blew my mind. We just went through a revision yesterday, and what we have going on, what our programmers are doing is sick. It's just amazing. So Cardion.io. And of course, if you want to find out more about me, what I'm doing, DanielAFranz.com. That's DanielAFranz.com. I know I said it last podcast. I'm going to say it again. Thank you. I appreciate you, your support, your listenership. I love your feedback. Please hit me up anytime you want to. Thank you so much for this opportunity to bring a little meaning, purpose, and resilience to your day. Take care.